Whoa. Thank you. Big round of applause for Senator Graham.
Thank you. I'm from the federal government here to help you. So the RJC is 30 years old, right? You never look better. You don't look a day over 20. Don't you feel like you're more relevant than ever? Don't you feel like that what you've been trying to tell people is coming true? So I want to thank you all for helping me all these many years. I'm from South Carolina, as you might can tell. And the last election for Senate, I had 6 primary opponents, from mildly disturbed to completely insane. And it's the insane guy I was worried the most about. You rallied to my side. The pro-Israel community on both sides of the aisle invested in Lindsey Graham's campaign with a ferocity that made me feel like family. We are family. If elected president, I may have the first all-Jewish cabinet in America. Ken, thank you for introducing me. Thank you for being my friend for so long. This journey we started together with Lindsey Graham was well over 20 years ago. I had a guy show up at my office when I was running for Congress, the first Republican to win the 3rd Congressional District since 1877 in South Carolina. Strom Thurmond knew the guy, I didn't. He said he was a nice fella. We change senators every 50 years in South Carolina where we need to or not. There's a guy that showed up in my office and said, I'm from AIPAC. I said, that's great. What's AIPAC? I'm here to help you. And they did. The bottom line is that the pro-Israel community, AIPAC, RJC, and others, have been very, very helpful to making sure those of us in Congress who understand the commonality between Israel and the United States are elected. Shared values, shared enemies. I'm the first in my family to go to college. Anybody in that boat? Neither one of my parents finished high school. My dad owned a liquor store, a bar, and a pool room. This is why I would be a good president for you. I grew up in the back of a bar until I was in high school. We lived in one room. My mom, my dad, my sister, who was 9 years younger than I am. Life was pretty good. If you own your own business, you go to work every day whether you feel like it or not. Does that sound familiar? You can't get sick. I ran the pool room as a kid. This is why I would be good regarding the Iranians. I know a liar when I see one. So the bottom line is that is my worldview from the back of a liquor store, living in a small town in South Carolina, being raised by wonderful parents who cared a lot but not well educated. But they gave me the one thing that is essential: unconditional love. They loved me and they loved my sister unconditionally, and they didn't leave us a lot of money, but they left us the one thing that every kid should get from their parents: love, encouragement, and respect. So, when I'm 21, I'm at the University of South Carolina, where we just got beat by the Citadel a couple of weeks ago. Long, struggling Gamecocks. I'm a sophomore in college. My mom gets diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. 15 months later, she passes. we get wiped out financially because we're underinsured. 15 months later, my dad dies. I'm 22. My sister's 13. We move in with an aunt and uncle who worked in the textile plants in South Carolina and never made over $25,000 in their lives. If it wasn't for Social Security survivor benefits coming to my sister as a minor for my parents' contribution, we wouldn't have made it. I don't need a lecture from a Democrat about Social Security. If it weren't for college loans, my sister would not have gone to school. I don't need a lecture about how hard it is to send your kids to college. I paid the medical bills until I got out of the Air Force. I don't need a lecture about what happens if you get sick and you lose everything because you're underinsured. The Republican Party has the best chance to win the White House in a very long time. Do you agree with that? I heard Senator Cruz mention a couple of things that I'm going to take issue with. Why we lose. How many of you believe that we're losing elections because we're not hard-ass enough on immigration? Well, I don't agree with you. I believe we're losing the Hispanic vote because they think we don't like them. I believe that it's not about turning out evangelical Christians. It's about repairing the damage done by incredibly hateful rhetoric, driving a wall between us and the fastest growing demographic in America, who should be Republicans. I believe Donald Trump is destroying the Republican Party's chance to win an election that we can't afford to lose. Let me tell you about life in America as it really is. 25 years ago, a young man and young woman came over from Mexico to seek a better life. We have two borders, one with Mexico and one with Canada. I have yet to meet an illegal Canadian, and I'm looking for them all over the place in New Hampshire. I can't find them. There may be one out there. Isn't it kind of odd we are not run over by illegal Canadians? Rule of law country, sound economy, not a bad place to live. The Canadians come to Myrtle Beach in March and they go swimming. We're glad to have them. Too damn cold for us to swim in March, so we have Canadian Week. They leave on Sunday. The people come here illegally usually come from poor and corrupt countries, and some of them are bad, but most of them are good. So 25 years ago, a couple came here with one child. They've had 2 since. They're U.S. citizens under our law. That's just the way the law is. You want to revisit that, count me in. But we're not going to retroactively change it. The bottom line is those 2 children have no place to call home other than America. This is where they've been raised. They've gone to school. One's joined the Marine Corps. The highest percentage of minorities in the Marine Corps are Hispanics. He's done a tour of duty in Afghanistan, maybe one in Iraq. He comes home and he hears, hey, where's Mom? You haven't heard she's walking back to Mexico. That's self-deportation. Mitt Romney's one of the finest men I've ever met. He's a wonderful man. When he embraced self-deportation, he made a mistake because he exposed our party to a concept that most Americans don't buy and very few Hispanics buy at all. But that's not good enough. In 2016, we got to go a little further. Now it's not self-deportation, it's forced deportation. We're literally going to round them up. That sound familiar to you? Every one of them, including their American citizen children. That's the leader of the Republican Party. You think you're going to win an election with that kind of garbage? undercut everything you've worked for. So if you think it's about turning out more people and staying on this path, then you're setting this party up for oblivion. It's not about turning out more people. It's about getting more people involved in our cause. It's about looking the Hispanic American in the eye and say, we get it. You're pro-life, you're entrepreneurial, you're very hardworking, you're very patriotic. Be part of our cause. Is the Marine Corps legal American citizen going to vote for a party that wants to deport his mother? I don't think so. And if you do, boy, I'm your worst choice. You really want to win this election? Do you really want to win this election? Well, start taking everything that we say seriously and push back when we make absolutely no sense. I wanted to come here and talk about foreign policy, my 36th trip to Iraq, to tell you how bad things are, and I'll get there in a minute. But after Mr. Cruz, I'm going to talk to you about winning an election. How many of you believe we've got a problem with young women as Republicans? What do you think that problem is? Any idea? What? It's a variety of problems. How about abortion? Any of you think that that does create a problem for the Republican Party? I think you can be pro-life as you want to be, as long as you're sincere and as long as you have a reasonable approach to the pro-life issue. I am pro-life. We're not going to lose this election because you're pro-life. Hispanics as a group are pro-life. African Americans are more supportive of traditional marriage than any demographic in the country. It's not because of social issues that we will lose. It's positions we take regarding social issues that can disconnect us from America at large. How many of you believe that there should be an exception for a woman who has been a victim of a rape and has become pregnant? I don't believe you can be pro-life and win an election. But if you're going to tell a woman who's been raped she has to carry the child of the rapist, you're losing most Americans. And you asked a question to Ted Cruz. How do you get a pro-choice person to vote for you? Let me tell you what I will do. I am pro-life, you're pro-choice. ISIL is neither. The tax code is a monstrosity for all of us. But if you don't understand the following, then we're making a big mistake, and here's the following. If the nominee of the Republican Party will not allow for an exception for rape and incest, they will not win. Ted Cruz doesn't have an exception for rape or incest. He says the debate's going to be about the little sisters of the poor. He's going to take the fight to the Democrats about their wanting to impose social policy on charitable organizations. It will be about rape. And if you don't think that, then you just don't understand what they will do. It will be about the nominee of the Republican Party telling a woman who's been raped, you got to carry the child of the rapist. Good luck with that. Not the speech you thought you were going to hear, right? Not the speech I thought I was going to give. But he didn't answer the question. He did not answer the question. I'm going to answer the question. We will lose if that's the position of the nominee of the Republican Party. We will lose young women in droves. And if we continue this garbage about illegal immigration and everything is amnesty, we're going to go from 27% to single digits. And if you want to ask Hispanics why they've gone from 44% of support for the Republican Party to 27%, they'll tell you, we don't think you like us. And given what I've heard, I would be in their camp too. So a little bit about me. I come from the reddest of red states. I was called Lindsay Gomez, Lindsay Dramnesty. My whole primary was around me working with Democrats 3 different times to find a comprehensive solution to a broken immigration system. I've come to conclude that securing your border is required, controlling who gets a job is essential, but you're not going to deport 11 million illegal immigrants. You can't do it. You shouldn't do it. The people who we want to deport are crooks. As to the rest, you can stay on our terms. Speak our language. I don't speak it well, but look how far I've come. Pay a fine because you did break the law. Don't cut in front of those who've been doing it right. Wait 10 years before you can even thinking about applying for a green card. That will sell. My goal is not to have a third wave. I've taken a beating over this issue. Let me tell you why I can beat Hillary Clinton. Her definition of flat, broke, and mine are a bit different. If you think after being in the White House 8 years you're flat broke, maybe you've lost your way of what flat broke looks like. Maybe that's why they stole the China. If you want to change Barack Obama's foreign policy, why would you pick his Secretary of State? You want to be Commander-in-Chief? Where the hell were you when people in Benghazi needed your help? How could you have an ambassador in Libya and not talk to him for a year when the whole place is falling apart? How could you not know that 600 requests for security came to the headquarters and none of them were honored? How could you tell your own daughter, well, this wasn't a protest caused by video, it was a terrorist attack, and 2 days later, tell the families of the fallen, we're going to get the guy who made that video? Put me in the ring with her. Give me a chance. I'll win. Then I'll govern this country in a way that it should be governed. I will bring us together. I will work with Democrats to fix a broken immigration system. I will work with Democrats to get us out of debt before we become Greece. I'm running as a Republican and I'm proud of it, but I am here to tell you the next president needs to be a better American than a Republican or a Democrat. How are you going to bring us together if your whole career has been about dividing us? I got one general rule of thumb. If a law is named after the president who's still in office, you're probably not going to repeal it. So this idea of shutting the government down to get Obama to repeal Obamacare never made a whole lot of sense to me. I am tired of that crap. I want to put an agenda forward that actually makes sense to the average American. I embrace working with the other side because the next president has to. I embrace what Ronald Reagan did with Tip O'Neill. Start drinking together. And find a way to save Social Security. Here's what I would do. I'd ask everybody in this room to give up some of their benefits because most of you can afford to do it. I would ask younger people in this room to work a little longer because you have to. I would do revenue because the Republicans have to give some too. I wouldn't raise rates, but I'd eliminate deductions and credits, and I'd pay down debt to get the Democrats in a room to have a discussion about getting us off track in terms of becoming Greece. 80 million baby boomers are going to retire in the next 25 years, and we better have a plan to deal with it. If we don't, we lose our way of life. We can't defend ourselves because all the money goes to Medicare, Social Security, and interest on the debt. That is a ticking time bomb. Have you heard of Simpson Bowles? I'm ready to do something like that. I'm ready to challenge you, and I'm ready to challenge the Republican Party. Are the Democrats ready to be challenged? I hope so. Because I get to be president, they're going to be challenged. I'm at 1%. The election is still a long way away. Help me stay in this race. You want to talk a little bit about foreign policy? Do you think I even need to talk to you about my support for Israel? No. I'm the first guy to go to the RJC event and never mention Israel in 15 minutes. You know why? Because I don't have to. Because you know where I'm at. Don't you really want me to be president of the United States? In your heart of hearts, don't you want me to be by Bibi's side? Don't you want me across the table from the Ayatollah? Don't you want me to be commander-in-chief because I've walked in their shoes? How many of you believe that I would go on offense on day one? How many of you believe that if I told the Iranians I'm going to tear this deal up, they would believe it? And if somebody running for president on our side says, I wouldn't tear the deal up, then you don't understand the deal. Because if it's fully implemented, it's a death sentence for Israel. They don't even have to cheat. Who in their right mind would give the Ayatollah $100 billion to do anything he wants to without changing his behavior? John Kerry. Never let someone negotiate with the Iranians who's never bought a car. I would tear the deal up because it's unworkable. And I would do the following. I'd call the Congress and say, give me one piece of legislation as leverage. If you do business with Iran, you're not going to use American banks. The phone would ring. Then I'd get you a better deal. I tell the Ayatollah, if you want a nuclear power plant, you can have it, but you're not going to enrich uranium because we don't trust you. Mexico and Canada have nuclear power plants, but they don't enrich. We're not going to let a religious Nazi enrich uranium if I'm president. You're not going to get a penny of money and another weapon until you stop becoming the largest state sponsor of terrorism. If you try to break out, I will stop you. If you want a war, you will lose it. My goal is to take off the table the nightmare of all nightmares, a weapon of mass destruction in the hands of a radical Islamist who would use it. That's the number one threat to mankind. It's the way the second Holocaust becomes a reality. If you don't stop this deal and replace it with something else, every Arab in the region is going to want their own nuke. And our friends in Israel are in an untenable position. I understand why this is a bad deal, but I have the credibility in the region to get you a better deal. I've been there 40 times in the last 10 years. I know everybody worth knowing. I am intent on stopping this deal and stopping this regime before it's too late. Ted Cruz says he'd keep Assad in power. I sure as hell will not. I am not going to give Damascus to the Iranians, Baghdad to the Iranians. There's a corridor between Damascus, deep in the heart of Lebanon, where Hezbollah can transport weapons that are going to be used against our friends in Israel. As long as Assad's around, Hezbollah has a partner. Do you agree with that? If I'm president, Assad's going standing up or laying down, but he is going. ISIL will be destroyed. I'm the one guy that can go to every Arab leader in Turkey and say, we're going to use your armies, and we're going to go in and pull the caliphate up by the roots and kill every one of these bastards we can find, and we're not leaving until the job is done. They will follow me. They trust me. Then we'll turn to Assad, Russia, and Iran and say the following. We're going to let Syrians pick the next leader of Syria, not the Ayatollah, not Putin. And if Russia and Iran wants to fight the entire Arab world, Turkey, and Western powers, they're welcome to do so. If you want to fight for the butcher of Damascus, be my guest, Putin. You got 18 planes and 6 of them can't fly. He's got a pair of twos and we got a full house and he's kicking our ass because we got somebody who doesn't know how to play cards. If I am president of the United States, ISIL will be destroyed. Iran will be defamed. And the UN will be put on notice that if you can't continue to come after our friends in Israel, you won't get a dime of money from the American taxpayer. There are 3 threats to the state of Israel and the United States. 2 to common, 1 unique to Israel. Iran with a nuclear weapon is the nightmare of all nightmares for the world, but particularly the one and only Jewish state. ISIL and other forms of radical Sunni Islam are about to take the king of Jordan and all of our friends down in the Mideast. They would attack our homeland if they could. I'm going to stop them, and they represent an existential threat to our friends in Israel. ISIL in the Golan Heights is not a good deal. The third is the marginalization of the Jewish state by international bodies like the United Nations and the International Criminal Court. To the United Nations. If you take the French Security Council resolution and try to pass it, taking over the peace process, I will defund the UN if I'm the President of the United States. To the International Criminal Court, if you bring one IDF member before that court as a war criminal, I will shut you down. To the Palestinians, pick and choose who you want to be. If you want to be Hamas's friend, you're not my friend. If you reject Hamas and live in peace with Israel, maybe we can do some business. All I can tell you, folks, that we better not lose this election. I've given you a way forward. Almost anybody can beat Hillary Clinton as long as they're right on 2 good issues, immigration and having a sensible position on social issues. If we don't have those 2 positions right, we're going to get creamed. We've got a demographic problem with Hispanics that can be repaired because they've been left behind more than anybody else in the economy. Young women will look to us for a better way because their children are at risk under Obama's policies, and Hillary Clinton's more the same. We can win this election. You know how you win this election? You don't lose it. Thank you very much.
Whoa. Thank you. Big round of applause for Senator Graham.